And now, welcome to the Patriot Pulse podcast.
And good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, January 14th, and this is episode 241 of the Patriot Pulse podcast. And as a reminder, we always simulcast to Two Guys Drinking Coffee as well. And we're really excited today. We have a special guest, Veronica Kemeny. She is a retired Air Force major, and I know you're going to like this. And as a matter of fact, I know Veronica can hear us in the green room there. I really like our intro audio on that, Veronica, because that is the Air Force band. So I always like playing that one. Anyways, before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping as we always do. To help us overcome the algorithms that are shadow banning us, please, if you're watching us on either one of the Facebook pages, click like and share. If you're on our Rumble page, please click subscribe. Help to get us out there, because we know it's not happening organically. We still say things that people don't like, and they seem to how do you want to say it? They seem to censor us a little bit. But before we get started and all that, I do want to go into our little promo here and I got to find it here. I apologize for our sponsor here. So just a 30-second word from our sponsor, and then we'll get back to the show.
Need to get your brand noticed, remembered, and loved? At Everything Printed Promo, we turn your logo into walking, talking, shareable billboards. Whatever the occasion, we make you look amazing every time. Pens, shirts, drinkware, tech gadgets, you dream it, we print it perfectly. Visit everythingprintedpromo.com or call 888-619-9286 today. First-time customers get 15% off. Let's make your brand unforgettable.
Okay, so that was our sponsor, Everything Printed Promotional Products. So we thank them for helping us keep this on the air. And I'm seeing people coming on, and appreciate everybody coming on live. And I want to get Veronica on here quickly. So I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction with her. Again, her name is Veronica Kemeny. She's a retired United States Air Force veteran with over 20 years of service, retired as a major. And I found out this morning that her husband is a fighter pilot. So that we got to do a little introduction there anyway. So I would love to meet him. So over the past 6 years, she had built a powerful national media presence. She's done TV, she's done radio. She has a show and a podcast called Veronica Live, and she can be found on, and this is how we found each other, on OBBM Network TV, which we broadcast to as well. As a matter of fact, we're live to that right now. But she's a conservative Christian, and she calls it an unapologetic American First Warrior. America First Warrior. She's very well connected, as I found out. She's worked on presidential campaigns. She's worked on a lot of veteran issues, and coalition leader for Governor Rick Scott. So in other words, her resume is quite long, and I don't want to take up a lot more time before we get into our show here. But you can find her as well on our Bradford TV channel on obbmnetwork.tv. So without any further ado, I want to bring Veronica on right now. And Veronica, good morning.
Good morning from Freedom, Florida, and it's 45 degrees, gentlemen, so it's a little cold.
Well, I'll tell you what, for those of us up here in the north, you're not going to get a lot of sympathy at 45 degrees.
Well, I had to put puffer jackets on my two dogs, so that's when you know it's cold in Florida.
Yeah. I always, when I take my dogs for a walk, they get their coats on at 30 or lower. So,
Okay.
and it's quite often. So anyways, I'm really excited to have you on, Veronica, because I know
Good morning.
that you have a lot of insight of what's going on, and we've talked off the air. We've talked a couple times getting ready for this podcast. So why don't we go ahead and get right into it? I want to get your take, first of all, because we were talking about domestic terrorism. We were talking about what's going on up in Minnesota, and yeah, I'm afraid what we're going to be seeing here, and you can agree or disagree. Are we getting to another George Floyd 2.0 where they're taking somebody and elevating them to sainthood and rallying around? I mean, they're starting to riot because this lady up in Minnesota got killed. What do you see happening up there?
Well, I'm very disgusted by it all, because I think right now Kristi Noem's doing a great job, and I think there might be almost 3,000 ICE officers up there fighting this. But I look at this, I'm like, how is this the country that we live in? What is wrong with these people? I think many are paid protesters, but I think there's more to it too, because remember, Minnesota right now, Governor Walz and Ilhan Omar, who's a nightmare and needs to be deported, they're in the crosshairs. And we've heard $9 billion in fraud. I've heard people talk that potentially it's $20 billion. So I think they like the deflection. But here's my thing. I want Trump to roll in there, and we've got to get this under control. And I don't want ICE agents getting hurt. I don't want a Renee Good, a mother, that should have been picking up her child, but was instead, tormenting agents, getting hurt. I don't want that either. But we've got to control this. And I know one of the ways it's going to happen. Yesterday, Trump met with I think it's the Detroit Economic Club, and he said at this luncheon he's going to pull federal funding from all of these states. And so, I was Googling and researching and prepping, and Minnesota gets, I think it's like $25 billion, and that goes towards their roads, schools, that kind of thing. And so guess what's going to happen? The people of Minnesota are going to start to feel it, and they're going to say, knock it off. So we've got to hit this. We've got to go in full force. We've got to go in with ICE. We've got to stop the money, and let's get to investigating. And so I think they've hired like a U.S. attorney that's going to oversee all of the investigation stuff. But investigations take a long time to get to the bottom of stuff. But I'm frustrated. This is my country, and this is ridiculous. And many of those people are paid protesters for sure. Because why aren't they at work? It's cold there. You know what I'm saying? If you pay me $200, okay, I'll go throw frozen ice water bottles at people. We've got to end it quickly, swiftly.
Yeah. As we found out in other situations like Seattle and Portland, this is not organic. I mean, you can't be that organized across a large area and have it be organic, where they are all carrying the same professionally printed signs, and they're all chanting the exact same slogans. And I've seen some of the videos coming out of Minneapolis, and don't get me wrong, I am a staunch constitutionalist, and I believe in states' rights, and I believe in a small federal government. But it comes to a point where I even say they got to go. Somebody's got to go in there and stop it, and the state's not going to do it.
Exactly.
Walz isn't going to do it.
No, well, he already wants to make the National Guard his little mafia force. But here's the bottom line, guys. Why are we there? Why are we there? Because I saw, I'm on X all the time. They released some of the criminals that were picked up. And I always like to say this. My mother was from Spain, my father-in-law from Hungary, my mother-in-law from Scotland. All legal immigrants. I am pro legal immigrant, and I'm pro worker visa. If I know who you are and you want to come pick corn, okay. But who are we arresting? And this is, I have a 25-year-old daughter, and then I've seen some of the posts that her friends that I followed for years are posting. They're anti-ICE. Who are we arresting? They sent out the list this week. They were sodomizing children. They're murderers. They've raped women, and then I always go back to Lakeland Riley's mother. That girl was running on her campus at University of Georgia, doing what she was supposed to be doing, and illegal raped and killed her. And she had such a bright future. Her sparkle's gone forever. We can't get that back. And so that's the problem, is why are we there? We're getting the bad guys. I don't care about the grandma. You know what I'm saying? I care about these bad guys.
Well, I'll go one step further, and Fred, you feel free to jump in wherever you want as well. But Trump said right off the bat that he was going after the criminals, the worst of the worst, get them out of the country. But quite frankly, if anybody came into this country illegally, I don't care if they came in saying, I just want a better life for myself, or I'm fleeing a country where I didn't feel safe. There's legal ways to do it. So if you're in this country and you're not in legally, then I don't have any problem with ICE picking them up and deporting them as well. I don't either. It doesn't matter. We have a friend, Fred and I both, that is an immigrant from Scotland, and I won't say any names because his immigration status isn't complete yet as far as a naturalized citizen. But for 10 years, he has been dishing out a lot of money and jumping through hoops to get his citizenship.
Exactly. When you talk to the legal immigrants, they're spending $10K or more, and it's work. So
maybe the idea is to do your vetting a little bit better and streamline the process so it doesn't take 10 years or better to do it and get these people in legally. Because like you, Veronica, I don't have any problem at all with legal immigration. My grandparents came through Ellis Island. My mother was first generation American in her family. So I don't have any problem with that.
Well, but when are we going to put an end to some of it? I mean, some of this protest is getting ridiculous. I mean, you got this one woman who's an organized protester who's been doing it for everything from Tesla to Atlanta, Georgia, everywhere. She's been everywhere. It's the same woman. It's the same woman now in Somalia leading the same charge. She's got professional signs and everything. Come on, who's funding that? There's got to be
there is a company out there, and I've had the CEO on my show. I can't remember the name of the company. It's like Crowd something, and like he does both sides, and it's so easy, especially when you start offering people, a couple $100, go out there. But that's what some of these protesters are dumb. If you engage a federal officer, and you start punching or throwing something at them, you're going to go to jail, as you should be. But no, it's got to end, because I'm tired of it being all over X and the news and, everywhere that our country's out of control. Because I feel like now that Trump's our president, we're finally, on the world stage, and we have respect now worldwide, but you lose respect within America when you have these yahoos that are out of control and you don't have it, buckle down.
What's even more funny is you got these politicians out there telling people we need blood in order to make a change. They're actually encouraging this, but they wanted to get Trump out of office for even saying have a peaceful protest. But what are they all doing right now? I mean, they even did it when Trump was running for office, punch him in the face, hit him in the mouth, but nobody's getting in trouble for that.
Yeah. One point I wanted to bring up before it slips my mind, you made an interesting point, Veronica. You talked about Waltz talking about, the National Guard and bringing them in to fight this thing. And I'm wondering, because the president of the United States has the ability to federalize the National Guard in times of, unrest and insurrection and so on. So if Trump went in and federalized the Minnesota National Guard, I'm just wondering where their loyalties would be.
I hope he does that. Their allegiance is going to be to their commander in chief. I don't care if they're a weekend warrior. When you serve your country, and a lot of times when we're overseas on these deployments, it's these guard units, fighter jets that are dropping bombs, they're doing it. So no, their allegiance has to be to their commander in chief. I don't care if you're a weekend warrior. You sign up to protect and defend the Constitution. It's a calling in your heart normally, as well. So, and Tim Walz, remember, Mr. Stolen Valor, went to Congress.
Yeah.
Made a coin. He was promoted to E9, but he never did what he needed to do for that rank. So he was really an E8. And then what did he have on his coin? That he was the upper rank, which he was not, because you have to do certain things sometimes for your rank. So Mr. Stolen Valor, the man's just awful.
Yeah, I still remember the video that he did when he was a vice presidential candidate, which in itself was a joke, but where he was out trying to handle a shotgun in a hunting scenario
with his brand new outfit right out of the bag from Amazon. With no dirt on it.
Well, I hope. Well, let me ask you this, because this is a good segue into a comment, or something we talked about off air before. Do you think the comments by the Mark Kellys and the other 6 or however many it was, telling military personnel to disobey orders, do you think that really has an effect? Are these rank, the anything from the officers to the enlisted, are they looking this like, this guy's an idiot? I would never do this. You're being a retired military. What's your take on what, especially Mark Kelly? He's retired military too.
It's disgusting. And he was the only one that retired as a Navy captain. Remember, he was a astronaut. So even though he was a Democrat, I respected him for his military service. But, having given people under me orders, I expect you to follow them. And especially if the Guard gets deployed to these, LA or Minneapolis, they need to be following orders. And when you're an officer giving an order, I expect those people, they've got your back. And now he's telling them not to follow orders. Just egregious. And it's going to be interesting because, Senator Kelly has said that this is weaponization against him, but you were a Navy captain. And of course, when you retire, there is a window where you could always get called back if there was some sort of crisis in our country. And, you're always a Navy captain, buddy. You have to, people look to you, a general's always a general after they retire, respected rank. And to even have those words come out of his mouth. And, young troops are young, so they're still being formed. We don't need outsiders weighing in. And that's been the great thing with Secretary of War Hegseth and Trump, who loves the troops. Like people are joining the military now with record rates. Nobody wanted to join under Biden. I have friends of children that were in college and looking for jobs, like they wanted to go be officers, but not under the Biden administration. And I talk about it all the time. I don't want to see a man in a skirt in my military. That is gone. And so, the last administration, when I reflect back, it was a joke pulling out of Afghanistan. That man never had the troops back. Trump does. But how dare Senator Kelly? He totally stepped in it, and he's being handled. It's going to go to federal court. Of course, these judges, so many of them are activists, but right. He's shaking at the knees now, because when you're a Navy captain and you have that retirement and you live to be 95, we're talking a lot of money if he gets demoted to a lower rank. And a lot of times they knock you down 1 or 2 ranks when you do stupid stuff. But life's about choices.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, again, I don't know the military protocol, so I can't speak to it, but I'm wondering, is it just, to me, knocking down a rank or 2 is pretty much like a slap on the hand. It may be a painful
you're
slap.
Talking hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially.
I understand it, but to me, what he did was so egregious. And I'll tell you what, and I equate that over to the civilian side. where you got representatives like Elia Omar, or whatever her name is, that and the rest of the squad, and most of them are all Muslim radicals anyway, but they're in office and they're speaking against. They're citing and they're trying to incite insurrection in this country with their words.
I agree.
Exactly.
At what point does our justice system step in and say, we're all for free speech. I believe in free speech too, but when it goes to the stage of inciting
treason, let's say the word treason,
yeah,
and destruction of our country, it's just it's so I don't even know how this woman is a congresswoman. I mean, I've followed her now on, I follow her on X because you want to get the feeling on what the other side, and everything she says is anti-Trump, anti-America, everything for the Somalis, you're taking food out of the mouths of children. And that's the other thing that's sad about this whole daycare, no federal funding. There are some poor people out there, legitimate ones, that could use the money, use the benefits that are frozen right now.
Well, didn't they prove, and both of you correct me if I'm wrong, they were showing some of these supposed addresses that were registered as daycares that are just either empty lots or empty buildings. There are no children being cared for.
Well, I'm saying like true Minnesotans that, a single mother that is out there, not the Somalis, no, because a lot of this has been such BS, and hats off to that young Nick Shirley that I'm worried about his life. I hope he has security, because what he's done is just been incredible. But that's the other thing. This is one state, and now, I don't trust any of these other blue states. I think they're all dirty. It comes down to they all want power and position, and we know dollar signs. And and why is Ilhan Omar worth $30 million now? When you go to Congress and you make $174K, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's the problem. I think they don't want to look into that. The bottom line is a lot of our debt problems are all wrapped around fraud, but nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it.
I saw Scott Bessent made a comment yesterday. I don't know. I can't say the exact quote, but like the amount of fraud that has been like going on across America is like 10% of our entire budget, they think, at least, and Elon Musk has kind of weighed into it too. So let's get to the bottom of it.
I've heard the number, and I don't know if it's from Bessent or whoever, but if we could eliminate the fraud, we would only, the number I heard, if we could eliminate the fraud, we would only need 10% of the revenue or the the budget to run this country, and it could pretty much eliminate income tax.
Yeah,
but
yes, please. Instead, we're lining everybody. See, that's the other thing. It's never our pockets that get lined. It's never our pockets, and we're all still working, paying taxes. Doing what's right in life, not out there rioting. I'm telling you, who are these people? They're definitely getting paid, because most people have jobs you have to go to. So. It's just it's revolting. And Tim Walz, that's been something that's made me so happy, kind of a Christmas with a bow present on it. What is that? He's not running for governor. And so I'm like, who whispered in his ear? Because that man's got a head. He thinks he's so great, but he's been taken out. He's not ever going to be the governor of Minnesota again, and I'm so happy.
Crazy thing about it, even the fraud runs even into the medical, because you get into it. I was trying to Google this one thing, but they were talking about cancer. Cancer is like a $600 billion department, but yet the cancer rates over 50% increase in the amount of people catching cancer. So why are we putting all our money into an organization, into something that's failing horribly?
You could say that about just about any NGO,
anything medical.
Yeah. Hey, one of the things I did want to say, that's a good point, Fred. I mean, the fraud goes everywhere, but you had mentioned about these congressmen, and don't get me wrong, I'm a staunch Republican conservative, but I look at somebody like and I hate to call her out on it because she's said and done a lot of good things, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, how does she go from her net worth going from like a $500,000 when she got in to $20 million now? I mean, you
Okay,
don't do that.
Nancy Pelosi's worth over 100 million.
Oh yeah, well,
Elizabeth Warren's like 67 million, and that's part of it too. They've got all that stock insider trading,
yes.
which they should not be. That needs to be like, no, we're not allowing this anymore. No, it's disgusting.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm wondering if the reason we don't get a lot accomplished from the Congress is the fact that they all have their hands in the cookie jar a little bit.
They do.
And if they call one out, they're calling themselves out. It's just a thought I had.
Well, that's why I love my Senator Rick Scott, because he's worth like $100 million. So nobody can buy him. He has his airplane. He can fly around. He's not worried about trying to make his bank account huge because he landed there with a huge bank account. So he's always fighting the fight. So I feel, plus he came from, Rick Scott came from humble beginnings, single mother, was enlisted in the Navy, eventually went to law school, ran a company. Like, I think sometimes when these people do it the right way, then they go to Congress and represent us. Nobody's trying to, I don't know, buy their vote for something. So no, I don't know. I'm very frustrated by this, and I feel like they don't fight for us the way they need to, because it's about the cocktail party and making their bank accounts bigger, honestly.
Exactly. And I know people get mad at me for this one, but in my opinion, if you're running a failing state, you shouldn't be getting paid, period. If your state is failing and you're draining the system, why are we paying you? We're giving you a raise to sit out and say, oh, we're going to shut down the government if we don't get a raise, but you haven't done anything. Why should we be paying you more money?
Well, I was the mayor, Fryer of Minneapolis. He's a lawyer. And so I was researching if it was a weak or strong city, but he's a full-time mayor. And I was like, well, what's his pay? And so he makes like 147. He just got approved. It's going to bump up to like close to 190. But I was like, why is this man running this city? So, is he getting kickback somewhere, or did he show up working from a law firm? He's kind of young still to be totally loaded. So I have questions too, because I live in a city here, and last night, we've had a lot of corruption here, millions of dollars missing after our Hurricane Michael direct hit that was 7 years ago. And so last night they voted in the next mayor, trying to clean up the corruption here. And and I hosted him on a show, and it went viral because nobody knew who he was, but he was a military guy. And I think we need people that go to these offices, not worried about what their bank account is, with a servant's heart to clean it up and do it right.
I am watching some of the comments here that are coming across Facebook, but I'm going to pose a question that Kelly asked on here, and maybe you have some insight on it. I don't know, but it was interesting that Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned her seat in the middle of her term. A lot of people just say they're not going to run again, like Walt did. But do you have any information or heard anything about what happened with her, or what? I mean, she was, I know her.
Well, she fought with Trump, and she had always been a huge Trump cheerleader, but she's also one that rubs people wrong sometimes, right? She's got that strong personality, but she kept fighting for the Epstein files, and which, again, let's bring Pam Bondi in there saying they're on my desk, and then has all of these influencers come, and they were given empty binders, and people wanted answers about the Epstein question. And then when Trump called her a traitor, and they started slinging mud at each other, sometimes there's a breakup, just like the Elon and Trump, broke up. I'm kind of glad because the band's gotten back together, I like to say on X a little bit, because I want them to be allies. But yeah, she just was frustrated, I think. And then I think sometimes people want to go do bigger things. She was on The View. So, and I've been joking, she's going to probably be sitting next to Whoopi making $20 million.
I can't even imagine that. I can't even imagine a conservative wanting to be on the View.
I don't even think Elon and Trump ever really broke up. He had to save his company, so he had to step down. But they're still friends. They were friends the whole time. It was just to save his company.
Well, I like that. I want them to be allies, and we see Elon's amazing. Putting Starlink over with Iran, Ukraine, when we've had hurricanes. Because where is the government? Especially under Biden, dragging their ass all the time, especially if it was a Republican district. So,
well,
North Carolina.
We've been doing it. We've been doing a lot of talking this morning about Trump, and let me use that as a little bit of a segue, because he's the target of a lot of criticism, but he's also being praised for what he's doing out, around the world, basically. Let's talk a little bit about what I think is his attempt to secure the Western Hemisphere. Let's look beyond just the borders of this country. I mean, the Venezuela issue is a lightning rod of conversations, but I'll tell you what, I've got a family that I was associated with through the student exchange program that still lives in Venezuela, and they're thrilled that Maduro is out of there.
Absolutely.
I talked to him. I talked to him a week ago, and people are praising Trump for doing that in Venezuela, the people in Venezuela, but the people in this country are calling him a dictator.
Right.
And he can't be both. So, I mean, what's your take on what he's doing? I mean, Greenland's come up, Cuba's come up, and I'll bring Canada into the mix too. I mean, is he creating an alliance in this area? Because I want to bring something else into it that's kind of biblical too. But give me your take on what he's doing from an international perspective in trying to protect this part of the world from China and Russia.
Do you want me to go or Fred first?
No,
I'm excited about it because when Trump took the helm, it's a 4-year thing. He doesn't have to worry about running again. So he doesn't care what other people think. And we know that every year, and I've interviewed all these people that are fighting drugs and trafficking. And every year, more than 100,000 people stupidly take a pill or something that has fentanyl and have died. We've had our own war with drugs, but nobody ever talks about that. So for him to be bold, because really what's interesting about Venezuela is supposedly there's more oil there than anywhere in the world. Maduro didn't really care so much about oil, plus all the infrastructure is old. What was he pushing? Drugs. A little bit of oil going to Russia and China, supposedly. So Trump, what does Trump fight for? He fights for you and me every single day, and he took it there, and luckily it was pretty clean. There was some injuries, nobody was killed. 28 million people live in Venezuela. I have a relative by marriage that's 30. Was texting and the whole time so excited, and like 8 or 9 million people left Venezuela when Maduro took over. He killed so many people in prison, which now I hope every single prison is open with these political prisoners. But this is a good thing. And then Trump now, he moves fast. That's the other thing. He's had all the oil executives show up. He's going to put it on them to fix the infrastructure, make Venezuela great again. It's great. He's just a freedom fighter. I mean, people are frustrated that he's not only focusing on America, but when you think of China and Russia, China's definitely has their footprint all over South America. And
Sure.
you know, I as a lieutenant, I was stationed right after Operation Just Cause in Panama. And the Panamanians were so happy that we took out another drug dealer,
Noriega.
Noriega.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I love that America, people don't always want us to be a world police, but can you imagine now if Trump goes into Iran and drops bombs and takes out these mullah, Ayatollah, nightmare people that are suppressing, you know, they're saying yesterday, I saw the crown prince on an interview that 12,000 young people have been killed in the streets in all of these cities. You know, I want to free Iran too. So Venezuela's on track. We've got to get the right leader in because the liberals are, panties in a bunch because, he said, I'm in charge of Venezuela. Well, you got to get the right leader in. I know that the VP has been moved up to president, but who was she working for? Maduro. So
she's a Maduro 2.0.
She's a problem child, know?
Yeah.
So, no. And now guess what? Everybody's on notice. China, Russia. Mm-hmm. He's called out Colombia, Mexico, because the president of Mexico's, I'm feel bad for her because I'd be afraid of the cartels. So she can't say anything. Cuba's next. So Trump is changing the world. He's only been in 1 year this time.
Right. Yeah, it's a strategic move too. If you think about it, stopping them from getting those minerals from down there is good for America because it's not going to the enemy like it would be going to. Same thing with Greenland. Taking Greenland is a huge strategical point, far as we know, when missiles are coming from overseas. All of this is strategical. If you look at it, we got Alaska, we're going to have Greenland, and then stopping them from getting supplies to power their supplies. We're trying to all go electric here, but they're still using gas, coal, and oil, and we're trying to go electric. Really? And they control our power grid, by the way, China does. So, that's even more. Think about what you're doing to yourself. You're setting yourself up to fail.
Well, he's got cojones, I like to say, and people have taken note. And can you imagine? I interviewed somebody last week that left Cuba as a child. His father was in prison. When you talk to people that have had to leave their country because of giving up freedom, they understand it. America, we're just so spoiled. We go through a McDonald's drive-through. We don't suffer ever. Even when you're on an EBT card, you've been able to get your nails done. So, the first time I ever saw poverty was when I lived in Panama. True poverty. You don't even have shoes that you can put on. So, I don't know.
Well, it's amazing to me that we can see people that are really oppressed just so joyous when they see even a little bit of liberation and freedom. Yet this country, the general population of this country, don't seem to appreciate it.
I don't know.
I even look at what's happening in New York City with Mondani. He's obviously they call him a socialist, but let's face it, he's a communist. Socialism is just communism with lipstick on it. Okay. So you got people that are like in Iran, young people that are willing to die to get their freedom. And you've got people in New York City that are giving their freedom away. I don't understand.
It's shocking. It's, I like to tell this story. My husband's grandmother, she left Hungary on foot when the communists were rolling in. They ended up in Canada, and this was a family that had like servants. She used to get her fancy dresses from Paris. So now you have a suitcase. And she ended up being a maid at a hotel in Canada, didn't speak the language. And it's just amazing. She said, you'll do anything for freedom. And she never rose to the having servants waiting on her like she had in Hungary, but it didn't matter because freedom, you're free and you get to live your life. And Americans, we take it for granted, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of
Uh,
funny.
yeah.
I have a really good friend, and his wife is from there, and he goes back and forth with her to Venezuela. I just talked to him just a couple days ago, and they're ecstatic about it. I mean, if I could bring him on here, you'd laugh, because her family is ecstatic that this guy is gone. I mean, and we're sitting here. What was it? Less than a couple of months ago. No kings, no kings. Oh, but we want
Yeah.
Maduro. We'll keep him. Who cares if he's a dictator?
Well, I saw something on X that Rand Paul, and I need to verify this, but supposedly took millions from Maduro for his campaign. So I need to go if that is true. But I have to tell you, X a lot of times leads the way with accurate news reporting. I hope that's not true, guys.
Yeah, Rand Paul dropped down a lot of rungs on my ladder.
Me too.
When during the whole scamdemic, he had Fauci on the ropes many times in those Senate hearings, and never went for the kill shot. Never went to.
I don't know. I think he's. We in the military, when somebody doesn't do anything and they're still in the military, you call them retired on active duty. So I think he's like retired. We'll have to come up with an acronym up there in the swamp, because he used to be like a firebrand, and that's the problem. We need all of these people being firebrands, fighting hard,
and fighting for the country, fighting to get back to the Constitution, and I'll say that too. I mean, I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a conservative, constitutionalist, libertarian-leaning Republican. How's that grab you?
Total package there, Jim.
Yeah. But I think the problem stems from the fact that we aren't following the Constitution. And I had a discussion in a John Birch meeting the other night that I don't think the Constitution is not being followed. We aren't right now a constitutional republic because we've gone so far away from it. And this is just my take. I'll say this. I don't think I said this on the podcast before. With everything going on, because a lot of people are screaming, the things that Trump is doing are not constitutional. Well, in my case, we aren't following the Constitution anyway. If what we can do is step on a few toes, break a few legs, do whatever you have to do to get things where we're back to the way this country's supposed to be, and it's a temporary, then I'm okay with it. Honestly, I'm okay with bending the rules if the end goal.
Well, think about it though. The Dems, I mean, you had Comey lying, we've had Brennan lying, and these were organizations that they all take oaths to the Constitution too. And do you think they were following? They were all weaponizing, against Trump. When Trump's Mar-a-Lago home was raided,
right?
I remember my heart stopped that you're going through Melania's La Perla lingerie drawer and Barron for that's when I thought we were a banana republic, because these people were literally out of control. And it takes a long time, because think about it. Obama was in office 8 years. I know people that have worked in all these organizations, and he opened the door to get all the green-haired liberals in. And then of course you couldn't fire anybody for so long, which Trump has changed that. I mean, I tried to fire people when I was in the military that were civilians not doing their job, and you can do it. You can do it. One even stole and ended up being sent to a vault to write tech orders. Stole stuff. Couldn't fire the person. So there's a lot of cleanup, and that's why everybody, when Dan Bongino said he was leaving too, he was such a fighter always when he was on the radio. Like if you go and look at Don under his ex, he's been beat up so much because people are so angry that he quit. Well, we don't know what he did. We don't know what fights he was in, cleaning stuff up, and a year sometimes up in the swamp is a long time. And the man definitely was working 24/7. Yeah. Because, Biden had to take a nap every day. Couldn't do anything.
Most vacations of any president ever.
Yeah, on the beach in his lawn chair.
Well, I look at this from a perspective of, you got the Trumps, the Bonginos, even the oh, I can't think of his name. The Secretary of Transportation. Help me here.
The one now, Duffy?
Yeah.
Or the old
Duffy,
one?
Duffy, Sean Duffy.
Judge.
Well, no, not Buttigieg. He's still off breastfeeding his child somewhere.
Twins.
Yeah.
And he was
Anyways,
president, though, Jim. Don't forget that.
Yeah, they left. So I saw a report somewhere where, for example, Bongino was making millions of dollars in his shows and all. He left to make a salary of what, 170,000 or something like that.
It's nothing.
And Trump didn't walk away. He still got the money, obviously, but you know, he could have coasted out his twilight years.
Oh yeah.
In the absolute lap of luxury without a
Right.
care in the world. But he came and stood up and said, "No, I'm going to fight for the people of this country."
And his family still gets beat up.
Yeah.
All of them still get beat up, treated awful, still trying to ruin them. You know, so I have to say this family, they've got backbone, and you know, they're amazing.
Anybody that would give up that kind of, and there's a lot of people in that category. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people, not just Trump family, not just Bongino, but there's a lot of people that have given up to give back to the country, to serve. You know, and I think those are the ones that are doing it for the right reason. The ones that are going in dead broke and coming out multimillionaires, they're doing it for themselves. So, hey, it's good. We're about 9:47. We do have a hard break at 10 o'clock, but I want to make sure, Veronica, we kind of went in a couple different directions. I want to make sure we cover anything that you've wanted to talk about today, because I don't want to just, you know, control.
Well, I'm passionate about all these subjects.
Yeah.
Honestly, one that I know you and I chatted offline was Pam Bondi. You know, because she was the Florida's attorney general here, did a great job. Went after, we used to have all these opioid, you know, come get opioids, you know, doctors issuing them out like candy. She cleaned up all of that, went after drug cartels. I had such high hopes for Pam Bondi in DC. And I talk about this on my show all the time. There's not been enough golden handcuffs. There's been like 0 golden handcuffs. I have some. I will issue golden handcuffs to everybody. And, you know, I'm just frustrated. And there's a bunch of articles this week saying that Trump is frustrated because, you know, you see Judge Jeanine gave up Fox News, her lifestyle, and she's out there, and I feel like she's kicking ass. And Pam Bondi, you know, I wanted her to kick ass. So what do you think has happened? I don't know, because I just don't know if the process is so slow to put golden handcuffs on people. But of course, when you're a political person like you and I've been out there doing, you know, campaigns for 13 years and all of this media stuff for going on 6 now. People always complain to us, Veronica, how do we fix this? I don't like Pam Bondi, you know? And so I don't know. Are her hands tied? You know, originally I kind of was excited that Matt Gaetz was going to be the attorney general, because I really liked him as a congressman in that he went after people and took them on, and we need a strong attorney general. And I don't know what the delay is. I'm frustrated because Trump moves at Mach speed, and we need the attorney general at Mach speed, because before she was doing this, she kind of was always on Fox News, and, you know, it's great to be on hits all the time. And, you know, right now with the swamp up there, you're having to work 24/7. You've got to dig deep. And I thought she was the best because she was great in Florida, and I need her to showcase that it's been almost a year. How long am I going to have to wait?
Yeah, we need to see some head rolls. As a matter of fact, I'm part of a lot of different threads on X and on Facebook, and that seems to be one of the overwhelming thread or themes. Why aren't people being held accountable? Why aren't arrests being made? Why aren't people that are in Congress that are just so clearly breaking the law, why are they still in there and almost like they have immunity? You know,
Did
and
we
people
ever
want-
see Letitia James in handcuffs, who clearly committed mortgage fraud, who's still sticking it to Trump? Like, I never saw her mugshot,
No.
Fanny, whatever either. So there's just a lot of people. Tim Walz, I really think, needs to be in handcuffs. Hopefully that's
Yeah.
coming to.
Except for he might like it.
Okay. we won't go down the
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
we won't go down that path.
I'll stick to
Don't
Mr.
know.
Stolen Valor, but
I don't
yeah, because
I don't
remember,
know.
they go after people like Dinesh D'Souza was in jail,
Yeah.
Martha Stewart was in jail. Who's
Yeah.
that governor? Started with the B. Braca. He was in jail. He was a Dem too. Like in gosh, what was his name? You see him now on talk shows. Braca. I don't know. He's got black hair. He was in jail and he was a liberal, but I haven't seen anybody in handcuffs yet.
No, that's
Sad.
everybody's frustrated
Comey,
with that.
Comey lying about Trump. Brennan, Clapper. I mean,
Go all the way back to Hillary
Hooray.
Clinton.
Hillary Clinton should be in jail.
well, they won't even show up to talk to Congress because they think they're better than us.
I know. That's crazy. Well, I'll tell you what, it's 9:52. Let's wrap it up with any closing remarks. Veronica, I want to throw it to you first to tell us what you're doing. Tell us where people can find you. And I know OBBM Network TV, but tell us what you're doing out there.
Yeah,
where
I
people
just I host a lot of national people, sometimes local. I haven't done local in a while, but that new mayor, and I think I made a difference because thousands of people watched the interview that I did. So I'm just always fighting for conservatism. I think OBBM is a great landing page. Veronica Live there. This year, I'm going to try to get on more places. You know, I've been on Patriot TV this past year as well. So I've done like 50 shows. And you know, I really could do a show every day because people ask all the time to do a show, but you know, it's work, and you're trying to fit it into your life. But I consider myself a dragon slayer. I'm fighting for conservatism. I want to bring back faith and family to America because I think that's part of the problem, that we don't have tight knit families. You know, and the Dems like destroying it. And faith is huge. And, you know, like that Dilbert guy that just died yesterday, I was so happy. One of the last things he said was that he found Jesus. And so, you know, that's what it's all about, is we're not here for forever. Let's make heaven crowded. I have that bumper sticker. Let's make heaven crowded. And I feel like fighting for life and the military and strong leadership, like a Trump, that I'm a God warrior. So I always say that too. So what I'm doing is God's business. It's just in a different form. So I'm going to keep slaying dragons over here.
That's great. And I did want to say, I don't want to forget to say this. First of all, thank you for your service. You know, I make it a point to thank anybody that I know has been in the military or is currently wearing the uniform, even local police officers.
I do too.
I talk about, because it is a sacrifice. The people do put their lives on the line.
And it's not 9 to 5. It is not 9 to 5. It's 24/7, 365. And a lot of times too, you got to thank the families that stand behind them, because when your husband or wife is in Saudi Arabia, or, you know, I was stationed in Okinawa twice, you're far away. And the families are part of the package. But yes, I love our military. And I've joked on X, if I could go back and join under Trump and Secretary Hegseth, I would. But I have a fake knee now, so running's hard. I could fit in a uniform, but I don't know if I could run. So
Okay. Yeah, take 2 minutes. Tell us what I'm thoroughly impressed with Pete Hegseth. You know, and he shared the same rank as you. I know different branches of service.
Well, I was worried originally because that position, you know, I've been around, I was trying to count back. I've been around so many Secretary of Defenses because I always worked high level stuff when I was in the military, you know, primarily a protocol officer and a public affairs officer working for the general. And so I've been around so many of them. And a lot of times they come from, some executive experience running a company. So I was worried originally, but his speeches are amazing. The troops love him. He understands what it is like being a warrior. When we had, who was our last secretary, Austin, of defense, he was a nightmare. He was
couldn't find him half the time.
You couldn't find him. He didn't look the part. Hegseth's running with people. Not that, I need the Secretary of War running with the troops, because when you get older, it's a little harder. But you feel like he's got their back. And the troops under Trump, even the first time, you always felt like Trump had our back, and we would have never pulled out of Afghanistan, leaving people hanging. We should still have a base in Afghanistan, because when you have bases around the world, it's deterrence. And then the bad guy knows that you're right there and you mean business. And then we left billions of dollars of equipment. Like, if you get me going, I'm angry about a lot of things. And then again, the men in skirts. The men in skirts. Sorry, I wore the skirt, not you, buddy.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think our military is great, and we're always trying to get, make sure that, like, our defense budget's huge, because we always need to lead the way. We got to be in front of China by 30 years or more. And, Russia's still a threat. And our military is extremely important. You have a strong defense, nobody's going to mess with you.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Fred, I'm going to ask you this. It's 9:57. We always, Veronica, as I mentioned offline, we always close our podcast in prayer.
I love that.
This is we do fight a spiritual battle, and it's going to be the power of the Spirit that makes us victorious in all this. So, Fred, I'm going to ask you. Fred is our official prayer warrior on this podcast. So I'm going to ask him to close out. And please, Fred, hold Monica up and all that she's doing down in Florida there, and hold her up in prayer too.
One quick thing though. I'm for the Constitution for our country, just like everybody else. But unfortunately, it's going to take us crossing some of the lines that they've gotten laid down for us to get back to the Constitution. But we all know that when we face impossible things, we serve a God that can get us back there. So I just pray right now, Lord, that you would put your hands on Veronica and her quest. Put a hedge of protection around her, Lord, that she's a freedom fighter for freedom, just like we are. I ask, Lord, did you give her wisdom, give her understanding? Let her see through the lies that people are trying to tell her to try to deviate her from finding the truth. And the same thing for all our listeners. I pray that God would bring the darkness to the light, that we would start to see through the lies that the government's trying to give us to lead us to who truly should be the lead, and God leading this country the way it originally was intended. And the Constitution is what we're trying to get back to. So, Lord, I ask you, give us words of wisdom, give us understanding, and guide us into making the right decisions and not the wrong decisions. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks for hosting me.
Yeah, I appreciate you being on here. And if you would hang on just for a minute or two after I end the stream. But for everybody that joined us today, I know we had a lot of good comments here. I couldn't read them all, but I certainly will. But thank you for being with us today, and thank you for being faithful followers of this podcast. And Veronica, thank you again so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And let's stay in touch. I would love to get back on with you and
love it.
Talk about the more current events as they happen, and get it from your military perspective too. So hang on there with us. But for right now, I'm going to say so long to everybody. No matter where it is, it's kind of cloudy and gray here, but wherever you are, we hope it's sunny in your heart, and whatever you're doing, be blessed.
And be a blessing to others.
And Amen. We'll see you next week.